Welcome back to another episode of Masterpiece Theater. It's the long way
Awesome.
around podcast. It's the long way around podcast, whatever. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Good night if you're going to bed. I'm Tony Jackson.
And I'm Kevin Sullivan.
And today we are going to talk about representation in the media and pop culture, disability representation in the media and pop culture. And I'm glad it's become a much bigger topic of conversation. I'm so happy because there's not a lot of representation, and when there is, it's usually weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually weird, right?
Or it's usually inaccurate, is what I would say.
Or inaccurate, weird or inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say inaccurate is probably more accurate than just weird. So I grew up in the 80s, right? Did you see a lot of disabled characters in the 80s? No. Kevin, you grew up in the 90s. Did you see a lot of disabled characters growing up?
No, not really.
No.
No.
And the thing is, like, a lot of the disability representation you would see and that you still see today is often created by people who don't have disabilities, right? They are creating a disabled experience from a non-disabled point of view. Now, there are organizations out there that are working to change that, right? There's Making Space with Keely Catwells. I hope I got your name right. I didn't look at it yet.
That's right.
And Sophie Morgan, right? They're doing amazing work out there. There is Respectability, who offers programs to create pipelines for people with disabilities to get into the entertainment industry and represent us accurately. And now you're seeing more representation these days that is more accurate, right? Like I'll just put her out there because she's probably the most well-known, Ali Stroker, right? She's out there doing the thing, winning Tony Awards for Oklahoma, right? Like, just doing the thing, right? Now, there are no disabled characters in Oklahoma. However, she was the best actor for that job, and she killed it, right? She killed it. So there's a lot more of an open-mindedness these days about disability, and there's a lot more accuracy these days with disability, right? It's a great thing. I love seeing it, right? I'm going to get this thing because I'm typing something. Kevin.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
am.
is good to see. It is good to see more representation. Obviously, when I was growing up, personally, I think the first character with a disability that I remember seeing on TV consistently was Stevie Carnarvon from Malcolm in the Middle, right?
Yes.
And I thought it was cool. It's like, oh, that's great. Like, they have a character who is in a wheelchair that is also in, like, the smart class on the show. I was like, they're not depicting him as, like, someone with any sort of, like, cognitive disability. So I thought that part was pretty accurate, but they also made the character have this, like, very exaggerated breathing pattern.
Yeah.
And, like, the actor himself, I don't know his name. I know he is not disabled in reality. But I remember in the show Malcolm in the Middle, Stevie talks like this with, like, these, like, really long drawn out breaths in between. And it's like, they probably could have still done his character without that, in my opinion. But it was cool to see at the time, for sure.
It was, and right. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm gonna bring this up now. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up now.
Mm-hmm. When I think of the 80s, while you're doing that, when I think of, like, 80s representation, I don't know about you, but I think of the movie Rain Man.
Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman does not have autism.
No.
Right? I mean, he won an Academy Award for that.
I mean, it's a good movie, and he does a good job with the portrayal. But
yeah, he's a great actor. He's a great actor. The one that I love to bring up now, which I don't want to say it burns me up. It just, like, you couldn't have found somebody else, is the upside with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston.
You know, I was just talking about this movie with a friend yesterday, and
I was like,
that movie is so. Here's the thing, though. Yes, I get what you're saying because Bryan Cranston is not disabled. We all know that. He was the star of Breaking Bad and also in Malcolm in the Middle. But I do think it shows how having money can just like make your disability just like it makes it so much easier, right? And I think it just
sure.
shows how like if you do have wealth, if you just happen to be one of those people who has wealth for whatever reason, then like you're not necessarily dealing with like this all of the same challenges as like maybe you or I deal with a disability. But I
Yeah.
also think it should show a good job of like how some of the challenges are exactly the same, like in terms of like dating.
Yeah, and for me, and again, this is not to disparage Bryan Cranston at all. He's an incredible actor, right? And apparently he's apparently doing some method techniques like falling on the floor and asking people for help to get up as he was getting into character for this role. I had read some story somewhere about how he was doing all of these method techniques to get ready for the role. He's a great actor. Now there is a certain level of authenticity that he will never be able to bring to that role,
Right.
right? Right, and he did a good job. I mean, like he was fine, right? He was
But like
fine,
they could have cast a disabled actor.
right? Why not have a disabled actor? There are plenty of good and qualified actors with disabilities out there to
Right.
do the thing, right? They're who why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you hire a disabled actor? And
And
another
especially when well, and I was gonna say, especially like you can't even say it was for name recognition because you also have Kevin Hart in the movie.
right, who is arguably I don't want to say a bigger name because they're both like huge. Everybody knows who both of them are,
Yeah.
right? So it's just like, okay, you got this movie out, the upside. Bryan Cranston's a man in a wheelchair. For us, there's got to be there's got to be like a suspension of reality for a minute, right? And I know we all go to movies to escape reality, right? But I'm sitting there watching them and go, that's Walter White, right? That's Malcolm's dad.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and he's done other roles. I mean, he's great. He's a great actor. It's just,
Hmm.
like, couldn't you have just maybe like found a really good actor who is already a power wheelchair user?
Right.
Maybe,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know,
Like Tony Jackson.
like Tony Jackson. Exactly. I would
Yeah.
have done
Yeah.
great with Kevin Hart. We would have been
Yeah.
wonderful together.
Hey, and
Uh,
your assistant in the movie is Nicole Kidman, right?
Perfect.
That's not bad.
No, great. Love you, Nicole. Call
Yeah.
me. Call me, Nicole.
Yeah.
Um, and so I, I actually I actually wrote my master's thesis about portrayals of disability in German film,
In
right?
German film.
In
Oh,
German film,
interesting.
not even because I did German studies when I was in school, because that's what you do. You do like you study shit that nobody cares about when you're at the university, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that was brought to my attention that I never really put much thought into until I started working on this thesis was like portrayals of disability usually go like one of like two or three ways, right? It's either like this super pathetic character who needs all the help and can't really do anything for themselves, totally helpless, or it's this superhero being, right? With all of these magical powers who's superhuman, right? Or it's like this innocent little thing who ends up being this really evil, like whatever, like whatever, right? Like,
Mm.
and a perfect example of that is a movie that I actually really thoroughly enjoyed was The Usual Suspects. Right. If you haven't seen The Usual Suspects, it's been out for a couple decades. Spoiler alerts, you've had time to watch it. Turn
Yeah.
it off right now if you don't want to hear the plot twist. You've had decades to watch it. Get on it, please. Kaiser Soze. Okay. So in the movie, Kaiser Soze is the bad guy in the movie. right? And he's a super evil, like super manipulative, calculating dude who like operates in the shadows, right?
Mhm.
And 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 the whole movie is basically like a big whodunit, right? Who is Kaiser Soze was the whole tagline in the movie when it was out
Yeah.
in theaters. Who is Kaiser Soze? And Kaiser Soze, turn it off right now. Here it comes. Was the crippled guy. He was the crippled
Yeah.
guy that
That's
no
right.
one suspected. That no one suspected.
Yeah.
It was the crippled guy in the movie who was this evil mastermind. Through the whole movie, he was this sweet, innocent guy who was getting his ass handed to him in jail. Because what am I gonna do? I'm crippled. I can't do anything. Turns out he's
I
the evil, bad mofo.
I really need to rewatch this. I've seen The Usual Suspects, but like it was a long time ago. I really need to rewatch this.
I mean, that was the plot twist of plot twists.
Yeah.
I just ruined it for you, Kev. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, I've seen it.
It's
It's
a
just been
good.
a
I mean,
while.
it's a good movie. The
Yeah.
Usual Suspects was a good movie,
Yeah.
right? And then what about what was that movie? That M. Night Shyamalan movie, Unbreakable, right?
Mhm.
Samuel L. Jackson plays like an evil guy with osteogenesis imperfecta, right?
Yeah.
He's got brittle bones, but he's a super evil dude, right? Let's think about Professor X, the most powerful of all X-Men,
Yeah.
in a wheelchair because of polio. He is the most powerful. Some people would argue Jean Grey. That might be true. Before he died, though, the most powerful. Yes, he died. Okay, if you didn't know that Professor X died, catch up on the comics. It happened like 20 years ago. Catch up, please.
Yeah.
When Professor X, when he was alive, though, the most powerful of all X-Men, he was in a wheelchair, right? And then and so it puts us regular folk in a weird spot because people either infantilize us and they over care for us when there are things that we can perfectly do for ourselves, or they hold us up on a pedestal like we're these superhuman beings,
Yeah.
right? And neither one of those things is accurate. And
Yeah.
so this is why. So in the voiceover community, for those of you that didn't know, I happen to be a voice actor as well. In the voiceover community, we talk about how authenticity is so important, right? And not only because it helps people like us see ourselves represented accurately, it also helps to normalize us so we're not put on these pedestals or we're not infantilized,
Yeah.
right? Like we are people like, yes, we have challenges that people who have full functioning of their bodies and their minds don't have. However, like we still get up in the morning just like you. Most of us shower. I didn't shower today. Um, I did take a poop this morning, and I hope the rest of you did too. Because that's
That's what
what
you
we do.
start today.
That's the best way you start your day, because that's what normal people do, right?
Yeah.
That's what abnormal people do too. Like we all poop.
Everybody
All right.
poops. It's a great book.
Even Nicole Kidman poops. All right. So it's just challenging, which is why it's so important for organizations like Making Space and Respectability and all of those other organizations that I'm failing to mention are out there pushing for normalizing disability and pushing for accurate representation of disability, because we're out there fighting to just be normal, because to a lot of people we're not.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, there's plenty of content out there that is, inspirational in nature. And I think that has a pretty serious effect on how people view us. So yeah, getting things like, you know, the movies you mentioned, or there's a movie on Netflix called The Fundamentals of Caring. I think even though the character or the actor who plays the disabled character in that movie is not disabled himself in reality, I do think it is arguably one of the more authentic portrayals of disability because it's just like it's real. Like there's a scene in the movie, for instance, where they're going around the country looking at like they're doing a road trip for like stupid roadside attractions that the kid has already mapped out. And they go to this barn where they have like the world's largest cow made of cheese or something like that. But it's on the second floor of this barn. And the barn doesn't have an elevator. So like they go in and they're like, oh yeah, so like how are you gonna do this? Like, he wants to see it. And like they carry him up the stairs and everything, and like those are things that like I have actually done. Not like my wheelchair per se, but occasionally like you're in those instances where like you don't have a choice, but like you gotta let people carry you, or they gotta like pick up your wheelchair and move it somewhere because like it's not like a good spot for like where you're at. So I thought that one was pretty accurate. And I do think it helps show people that it's like, yeah, like we deal with BS and we deal with, just stupid things also on a daily basis.
We do, and it's important to have that accurate representation, not only to tell an accurate and realistic story about our lives to the people who aren't part of the disability community, for those who have aspirations and dreams and visions of doing a thing, seeing people out there doing the thing that look like us is so important. Because growing up, I had these fantasies of like being on stage or being in front of the camera or doing whatever. The physical world is not made for people like you and me, because there are stairs, there are physical barriers in the way, stages, right? There's stairs behind the stage, all everything, dressing spaces are tight, all of those
Yeah.
things. And so you start writing these stories about yourself, about how I can't do that because the stage is this, or I can't do that because this is that, or whatever. And what's great about now is that there are so many more opportunities to create your own thing, or create your own space within the thing,
Yeah.
right? So I started voice acting in earnest like right around when COVID hit, right? And
Okay.
before that, people would go into recording studios and audition. Like you'd get together with other voice actors and you'd all audition for the same role, and you'd create little sense of community within those recording studios. And I don't know if a recording studio is accessible or not. I don't know if it's on the second floor in a building with no elevator, right? And COVID forced everybody to create home studios, right? And as you can see, I'm in mine right now. And so
Yeah.
that opened the world for me. And what's great though too, through that, not necessarily intentionally, I have become the go-to person for my voiceover friends who who are asked questions about disability. And if they don't know the answer, they come to me and they ask,
Mhm.
right? And then I connect with these people who have these aspirations of doing voice acting, right? And I can tell them, yeah, I work in this. This is my one of my jobs, right? And so they ask me questions and I can answer these questions, and I can show them that despite having this high level disability, that yeah, you can do the thing too, right? I don't need to be able to stand to sit behind a microphone. I don't need to be able to use my arms to go through a script. I can do it. And so if I can do it, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why representation, authentic representation, is so important in the media.
Yeah. And it's also like, yeah, like maybe you can get in the studio, but like, is the studio itself like, does it work for you? Can you reach the mic? Can you reach this or that? Like, I know when I was in college, I was a radio major and they had studios, they had a few studios within the radio station for us to like do projects and stuff. And we made accommodations like here and there, but generally speaking, like things couldn't be moved around that much. So like I had to rely on like the TAs to help me put together my projects, because like there were times where it's like, well, I got to reach that button, but I can't reach it, or like I got to hit these two buttons at the same time and they're on like opposite sides. So like things like that. So I completely understand why like doing voiceover from the comfort of your own home in your own studio, like, yeah, it definitely opens it up to people like you and me, because, you know, it's just, we can build it to whatever works best for us. You know, like how you have your keyboard on the thing right there that you slide across. Yeah, like that.
And that inaccessibility is the reason I did not pursue professional radio.
Ditto.
Because as you know, Kevin, in radio, so many people start out in small markets, in
Yeah.
tiny towns with a couple thousand people, where accessibility is not exactly high on the priority list.
And no public transportation.
No public transit, very little infrastructure for the support systems that we need to thrive. And so that is the main reason I did not pursue professional radio. It's the same reason you didn't. It's the same
Yeah.
reason we're here today.
Yeah.
And so voiceover was the thing, or broadcasting, sports broadcasting was the thing. Again, it's the other reason I didn't pursue that more heavily either, because you're going to call games in small towns. You think those bleachers at your high school football game are going to have an elevator or a ramp long enough to get to you to the top where the broadcasters sit? No, if you want to do it, you'd have to do it from the field level, right? And that's not going to work. You can't see everything.
And well, that, so like my high school, when I was there, had a radio station actually, and we would broadcast football, basketball, and baseball, and none of those three sports had a broadcast booth that was accessible for me, which maybe should have been my first sign that radio probably wasn't in my future, unfortunately. But that's another part of it too, is like the booths themselves, like it's not even getting to the booths, but like once you're inside the booth, sometimes there is a step down where the broadcasters need to sit in the very front there. And like that's a problem too.
It is.
So yeah, it's a very, you know, it's a great industry, but it's like a very inaccessible industry for people with mobility issues, unfortunately.
Now, I was fortunate because I went to a very large university, Arizona State University. So Sun Devil Stadium, I'm not calling it the current name because it's dumb. Sun Devil Stadium, where the Sun Devils play their football games, has a huge broadcaster area, right? It's like multiple levels. Because you know the stadium at that point held 71,000 people. It's a massive stadium.
Is that the one that's built into the side of a mountain?
It's built in between two rocks. Yes, it's cool little. It's a cool setting. And so going in there, the broadcasters, like you had mentioned, have to step down about 3 or 4 stairs to get up against the glass to see the game. Now, I've called a couple football games at Sun Devil Stadium, and I couldn't get down there, and so I had to sit in the back where like the note takers and the spotters sit. Thankfully, though, the way the booth was built, I could still see the field, and I could use the monitors inside the broadcast area to see the game, and so it worked, right? And then going into the basketball arena, you're sitting courtside anyway, so you can do that. That's okay.
Yeah, basketball is probably the most accessible sport,
right?
To broadcast.
It is, right? And so what I was saying though is what's nice about now though is that you can create your own thing, because adaptive sports are so much bigger now. I've had the opportunity through the folks at Power Soccer Shop to continue broadcasting to this day. I was in Minneapolis over the summer working at the National Veterans Wheelchair Games, doing play-by-play for their Power Soccer competition. For the U.S. Power Soccer Nationals, not only am I playing and coaching my teams, I'm also up in the broadcast booth doing play-by-play for the games. And so that gave me an opportunity to continue those pursuits, maybe not in a mainstream setting, still doing the thing, right? Still being a
Yeah,
broadcaster.
it still scratches the itch.
It does. It does. And one day I will be at the Paralympics doing that for one of the big companies. One day I'm working on it.
Tony Jackson, NBC.
That's right. Somewhere along the way, right? And so this is why representation is important, because people can see me and see that I can still be a broadcaster. It doesn't have to be the way you see it out there, like like the Mike Tiricos of the world, or the Al Michaels of the world, or or whoever it is, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that. It can be on a different scale and you can
Mhm.
still do it, right? And so, like, voice acting for me allows me to let my freak flag fly without having to get up on a stage,
Yeah.
right? Like, maybe I find a stage one day that is accessible and I can be on stage and do the thing.
Right.
Until
I
then,
mean, it definitely depends on the venue. If it's newer,
right.
obviously the accessibility might be better. But I was backstage once at our it was called Brayton Auditorium. It was like the big theater at Illinois State, and it was for like a dance competition. It was a fundraiser for Make a Wish, and we were like in the back, the dressing room area, and it was so small. I couldn't even pull my wheelchair in all the way and close the door. Like, it was that small. I was like, how old are these dressing rooms? And I just found it surprising because like they've redone so much of the campus. They've made so many things like much more accessible, but yet that is like so cramped and tiny. So there are a lot of accessibility issues in theater, radio, whatever. I personally, during COVID, I was kind of hoping that remote broadcasting would get better. I know some places still do it occasionally where like the broadcasters won't actually be at the game. That would be something that would be definitely open up more doors for people like us. But I feel like whenever I watch a sporting event where they're doing something like that, you can always tell that it's like, oh, they're not there. Like, this sounds a little off.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And there's something about being there that you can't replicate
Right.
remotely, right? And
Right.
so going back to the whole representation in the media itself, we we have to, just as we've done with everything else, we have to just kind of take it into our own hands and create the thing that we want. It's the
Yeah.
only way. It's the only way.
Mhm.
And you saw that with Crip Camp, right?
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen Crip Camp, or you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, it was a it is a documentary about it about living life with a disability. It really kind of explained, not kind of, it explained the beginnings of the disability rights movement and how it
Yeah.
was started by people with disabilities who met at a summer camp in New York, right?
Yeah.
And all of the people that were involved in that went on to do great things,
Yeah. There were some
amazing
really
things.
important people at that camp. It does not get talked about enough.
No, it doesn't. If you haven't watched Crip Camp, especially if you have a disability and you haven't watched Crip Camp, get on it. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, one of the most vicious fighters for disability rights was Judy Heumann, who passed away not too long ago. She was part of that camp, right? And
Yeah.
I say vicious in the best way possible. She was one of the
She was
strong.
fierce.
She was fierce, right? She was fierce. She didn't back down. If you haven't read her book, you should read her book too. It's really, really, really well done. And Jim Lebrecht is another one. He's still out doing things now, fighting for accessibility within the media landscape, right? Jim Lebrecht is another person who's out there doing the thing, all from this place. And the goal, actually, Jim was the producer in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. The goal really was to tell our story in an accurate way that didn't sensationalize it, and they knocked it out. It was beautifully done.
Mm.
And it's important for all of us. If you have a disability, you need to watch it. If you don't have a disability, and Kevin and or me, and you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. If you just stumbled upon this episode because the YouTube algorithm said watch this, and you don't know either one of us, you need to watch it. Crip Camp. It's on Netflix. Check it
I
out.
recommend. It's really good.
And it gives you an understanding of what it's like to be us and what
Yeah.
it was like for those who fought for what we have now to grow up in that time.
I learned more about the history of the disability rights movement watching that documentary than I did throughout like my entire schooling career.
Yeah. And
I'm
now
not even kidding.
there's a movie in production about Section 503.
504.
504. God, see, I knew I was going to mess that up. I knew I was going to fucking up. I knew I was going to mess it.
It's okay. Is there really though?
Yes, there's a movie being produced by Apple TV about Section 504.
Yes.
Yep.
It's about the sit-ins, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Authentically casted people with disabilities to star in this movie.
Mm. I'm excited for that. I'll
Yes.
subscribe to Apple at that point.
Yes. Section 504. I'm sorry, Jim Lebrecht. I'm sorry, Judy.
It's okay, Tony. They forgive you.
I'm a bad disabled person. I don't even know my damn own history. Section 504, not 503.
Yeah, come on, Tony.
Anyway, it's important. All right, because we're not. I mean, you know, okay, maybe Kevin is a superhero. In general, we're just people, right? And accurate representation in the media helps to tell the story. We need it. It's important.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think anything that shows like that we just live normal lives, you know, like like you said, like I get up, I use the bathroom, I shower, like I brush my teeth just like everybody else, you know, day in, day out. Like it's not like some like, you know, like I just wake up and snap a finger and everything's done. So, you know, it's just, I think it's just good to be real with the public and not just like shoot smoke up the butt about like what disability is like and try to like, you know, fantasize it and make it sensational.
Right. And for those of you casting disabled characters in your projects, there's plenty of us out there. If you need some voice actors, there's the Disabled Voice Actors Database. Check it out. There's plenty of us out there.
Yeah.
All right. And there's other places to find disabled talent out there. There are a couple agencies out there that have a roster of disabled talent. I'm not going to name both of them because I can only remember one, and I don't want to not name the other. So just look it up. Disabled actor agency. There you go. Look it up.
Yeah.
So there you go. Still love you, Bryan Cranston. You did a great job in the upside. Just it's not the same though.
Yeah.
Still love you though.
Yeah. Yeah. That one's definitely like, you know, it's entertaining, but like it's like they could have cast this way more authentic.
I mean, he had a nicer wheelchair than I do.
Dude, he had like that's like that's what I'm saying. It showed how like he's, you know, this super rich dude, like he became disabled and like it really wasn't a problem for him like financially because he's loaded. I mean, this dude had like 5 sports cars that he never drove at the beginning.
You know, I wonder what they did with that chair. Did they donate it afterwards? Or is it just sitting in a warehouse somewhere collecting dust?
Dude, it's probably just sitting in a warehouse somewhere.
Probably in a warehouse. Yeah, somebody could use that chair. I hope you donated it.
Yeah, they should have.
I hope so. I hope they donated it to somebody who could actually use it after Bryan Cranston walked out of the chair after the final shoot.
I wonder how long it took him to learn how to drive a wheelchair. With his chin. It was like a chin joystick.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Still love you, Bryan Cranston. Anyway, there you go. I think we got the message across. Expect to see plenty of disabled representation in the media in the coming months and years, thanks to this episode right here.
We hope. That's our goal.
You're welcome. You're welcome, people of the world.
Well, hey, we're adding to the representation with this episode.
Yes, we are. Right. You damn right we are. You damn right we are. All right. And on that note, folks, we bid you adieu. Kevin,
Tony,
it's been fun.
always. We'll see you next time.
I'm just going to stare awkwardly into the camera for a second. Okay, that's good enough. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.